In this episode, I'm going to show you how to make one of my absolute favourite dishes. Doesn't require a lot of cooking, but it does require a lot of prep and a lot of concentration. It's my beef tartare with a blue cheese and onion toasty. It's absolutely incredible. And if you follow this recipe step by step, you're going to get a banging beef tartare and cheese toasty. Let's go. First job for the beef tartare is to get this beef sealed off. Now I know that might sound a bit weird because it's a raw, classically a raw beef dish. There's a thin layer of bacteria on the outside of this where it's been hanging. So we're just going to kill that bacteria in a hot pan really, really quickly into the fridge and cool it down. We're not cooking with any, we're not seasoning it, we're just trimming it all off afterwards. So we're just going to get it into a hot pan and just kill that bacteria. It's going to feel weird when you're searing this off without any oil or salt, but just go with it because it's literally an exercise to kill the bacteria on the outside of the meat. As far as that, don't take it any further than that, that's absolutely fine. 20 seconds on each part as you roll the barrel. It's worth saying at this point, I'm using beef fillet. You can use hanger, which is from the belly. That's a really good cut of meat to use, but I like the fact that there's no fat on the beef fillet, so it's just meat, and it makes for a really, really lovely beef tartare. So top and tail. And it's not even hot, I can just pick it up. So that's going to go straight to the fridge to cool down, and in the meantime I'm going to crack on with the cheese toasty. The fun part about this dish is that it's not taking itself too seriously. Normally a beef tartare in a Parisian brasserie, you'd have to be sort of all posh and stiff back. But my version is with a cheese toasty, and it just adds a bit of fun, and the flavour element that it brings to it is just amazing. So I use brioche, any sort of sliced brioche. If you want to make your own, you can. Get a really good shop-bought brioche, it's absolutely fine. An onion marmalade, an onion confit, store-bought, it's great. It's a great product and it adds a beautiful sweetness to this toasty. So, gently spread on one side the onion marmalade. Nice and liberally. And don't worry if you go over the edges a little bit because we're going to tidy this up before we grill it. And then for the cheese, I've gone for good old Yorkshire blue. It's a lovely blue cheese and it's almost like an entry-level blue cheese. It's not too piquant, it's got a lovely little bit of spice to it, but it's not overpowering. If you don't like blue cheese, you can substitute this for a cheddar. It's entirely up to you. I just love the level of spice that this brings to the dish. So I've just got some chopped Yorkshire blue from the store into triangles, and then just sort of overlap it in the sandwich, like you're making a sandwich, because you are. And then top it on. So there's your butty, and it looks a bit boring at the moment. Take a serrated knife, and you just want to trim off the crusts, so we get a nice finish. Don't worry if it's not perfectly square, and you can cut these into any shapes that you want. I think a little rectangle sits really nice on the plate. You can do triangles if you want, but I much prefer the rectangle. It just looks a little bit nicer on the plate and a little bit more uniform. So with your serrated knife, just straight in. And there's your little mini cheese toasty that we're going to serve with our beef tartare. So I'm just going to pop that on a tray and pop it to one side. Once we've diced the beef fillet, when it's cooled down, we can get this into a hot oven, 180 degrees for about 5 minutes, and be ready to bring the whole dish together. Beef's out of the fridge, it's cooled down, so now it's time to get rid of that seared part. This process is called sear and shear. So we've seared the outside of the beef, and we're just going to take it away. You want a sharp knife. I've gone for a thin filleting knife with a bit of flexibility, but any knife will do. This just does the job for me. So we'll just get rid of that. those end bits. And then just carefully chop round, making sure you get rid of all those seared bits, because that's not staying true to the dish. Perfect. It seems like a lot of waste, but it really is the best way to do this dish. So, what we want to do now is dice the beef. Now, I would go for as small as you can get, but not super minute, so like it's mince. You still want a little bit of texture in there. So, you want to cut it sort of 1/2 centimetre in thickness, and then we'll come back and we'll dice that. So, and then lengthways. See, with it being beef fillet, the knife's just sailing through it. It's such a sublime cut of meat when cooked. Super tasty when raw as well. So we're looking for about, per serving, about 50, 55 grams. You don't want too much. And then once it's cut into strips, we'll dice it. You'll see what I mean when I say I'm not recommending chopping it super fine down into mince. It'll be no good. So just a really nice small dice. And you can see there, that's where we're at. Grab a mixing bowl and then in with the diced beef. So you'll see we have a lovely selection of ingredients here, and each one of these brings its own element to the dish. So, diced shallot. It's raw shallot. Not many people are down with that, but it just gives a crunch. So like a teaspoonful of that. We've got some diced cornichons, which is a posh word for gherkins. You can buy them at the supermarket, the little cocktail ones. They're absolutely stunning, and they pack a really nice pickly, vinegary punch. Really lovely. So they go in 2. Capers. You can get the big capers, but these are Lilliput capers. They're really small. It means we don't have to chop them up. These bring a lovely salty element to the dish, and also that piquant sort of vinegar acidity that we do need to lift this dish. So just a few of them in. Dijon mustard. This is an absolute must for this dish. Teaspoon. And the secret ingredients. Don't tell anyone. Sauce rouge, more commonly known as tomato ketchup. So you want like 1/2 teaspoon of tomato ketchup. That just brings a little bit of sweetness, and again, it brings a little bit more fun to the dish. It's not super serious. A good pinch of salt and a smoky Tabasco. All these ingredients can be store-bought. So, once it's all in there, give it a good mix, and you'll see it'll start to come together. What you don't want is to put loads of sauce in there, loads of Dijon, loads of ketchup. You just want it to coat the diced meat. And then we'll have a little taste for seasoning. For me, that just needs a touch more salt. Always add little and often. You can always add, but you can never take away. Give that a stir. And we'll set that to one side, just for the flavours to come together a little bit. While that's sat there, I'm going to bang this in the oven, 180 degrees, 4 or 5 minutes, and you're looking for the brioche to caramelise and go a little bit toasted, and then we're good to go. Toasties out of the oven, cheese nicely melted, now we're ready to assemble. So I'm going to be a bit chefy and use a metal ring. It gives a lovely shape on a nice plate. So, carefully pop your mixture into the ring, pushing it down gently with the back of your spoon. So make sure you get into right to the bottom, because you don't want any sort of gaps when you come to take the ring off. Up. So that's the beef tartare, and it looks great. However, I'm going to add an egg yolk. That just brings everything together when you come to eat it. Just as a bit of a chefy tip, when you come to put the egg yolk into the beef tartare, just get your egg and just push it into the top a little bit, and it creates a little indentation. We'll put our cheese toasty on its side, and then we separate the egg. There you go. There's the egg yolk, straight on top. There it is, my classic beef tartare with a blue cheese and onion toasty. It's absolutely amazing. I can't wait to get stuck into this. I really hope you enjoy making it.